Alright, I do apologize about not starting this right at 1 o'clock. Was not entirely paying attention to the time. Also, what the heck is happening here? Whew, still got a little bit of some bedtime hair. Anyhow, welcome in everybody. Thank you so much for joining in. Really appreciate every single one of you guys. Got a pretty jam-packed show, I guess, today. Um, got some interesting things that we're gonna need to talk about. Some news coming out of the Clippers. Um, End up having, I guess, a historic night last night in terms of the predictions that I had. So we'll get into some of the discussions there. Outside of that, I don't really have that much of an intro today. But before we get into like the recap from last night's games and get ourselves some previews into tonight, let's how about I start off? Oh, that's probably too distracting. Let's get this one. Okay. Before we get into all the other stuff that we got to get into today, I would, if you guys wouldn't mind joining me in a prayer real quick so we can get this thing kicked off. Let's get started here, shall we? In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Lord God, I'd like to thank you for another glorious Wednesday. I'd like to thank you for helping each and every single one of us get through the halfway point of the week. I'd like to ask that you continue to bless and guide each and every single one of us as we go throughout the rest of this week and get into the weekend, and guide our thoughts, guide our actions, and bless our interactions with the people that we meet, and continue to help us be a hero to some and a blessing to many. As we continue to go throughout our day, as we pray, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. In the name of the Father, the Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. Alrighty, so we're just gonna kind of get right into it. We're just gonna start by I was not 100% expecting this last night, but I ended up getting all of my picks correct last night, which is kind of crazy. And I kind of noted it in my posts across the socials. Um, but yeah, that was kind of unexpected. I was not 100% on some of these games in particular, especially the Warriors and the Thunder, um, and the Pacers against the Jazz. I think there was another one. Oh, yes, the Celtics and the 76ers was also another one that I was like not 100% on in terms of um, because I figured the Knicks were gonna beat the Grizzlies, and I figured the Raptors were gonna beat the Nets. If you guys kind of saw my show yesterday, we're gonna kind of break down the closer games. We're not really gonna break down the Thunder and the Warriors or the Pacers and the Jazz just because of how high the score differential was. I mean, you can kind of see in this right now that a lot of these games were not close. Really, the only close game that we're really going to be discussing probably more so in terms of um, uh, in terms of probably like going in a little bit more in depth as to what happened was the Celtics and the 76ers. I did happen to watch like a little bit more highlights last night. Typically, I would try to go through like maybe one or two like key game highlights from the night before, but um, but yeah, it was the first of hopefully many, many more when it comes to um, uh, being able to uh, pick all the winners of all the games correctly. I'm I'm hoping there's more. It's probably not going to happen tonight. We'll see. If it does happen tonight, I'd be absolutely stoked. But for right now, um, I'm not. I'm not really banking on it, uh, especially since as we kind of go into the preview for later today, you'll see what my picks are gonna be, and this might be an interesting night. We'll see what happens, but excuse me, voice cracking as I'm talking. That's not great. But anyhow, um, let's get into recaps of some of the games from last night as I kind of set this up for afterwards. We got we haven't really covered a lot of the Brooklyn Nets and the Raptors. Well, more so the Nets than the Raptors, but um, this game obviously was a little bit closer than I had kind of projected. So this one ended up only being separated by 10 points between both of the squads. Game was in Brooklyn. Uh, Game was in the Barclays Center or Barclays. I don't know if that's how you say it. Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York. Um, I don't know if that was sellout crowd or not, but anyhow, got a couple of key guys to talk about from the Toronto Raptors from last night, including a couple of guys with some double doubles that they knotted up over last night. But the top scorer from the starting crew, even though like all five starters ended up in double figures in this game, ended up being Brandon Ingram, who after 33 minutes of play had 25 points, 5 boards, 4 assists, 1 steal, 1 block, 8 of 17 from the field, 1 of 6 from 3, and 8 of 9 from the charity stripe. So big night from Brandon Ingram, even though his accuracy wasn't entirely great. He still had contributions across the board, so that's a huge night from him. And then next top scorer right behind him ended up being Emmanuel Quickly, who after 32 minutes had 24 points, 8 boards, 5 assists, 2 steals, 10 of 17 for the field, 3 of 8 from 3, 1 of 2 from the charity stripe. So big night from Quickly as well. Let me just switch over and see a couple of things real quick. But anyhow, and then the guys that had some double doubles last night, you got Scotty Barnes, who ended the night with, after 31 minutes of play, with 15 points, 11 boards, 5 assists, 1 steal, 1 block, 6 of 9 from the field, and 3 of 3 from the charity stripe. So a double double knotted up by Scotty Barnes. And then also Jakob Pertl ended up with a double double, who after 30 minutes of play ended the night with 12 points, 10 boards, 2 assists, 1 steal, 2 blocks, 5 of 6 from the field, and 2 of 4 from the charity stripe. So big night as well from Jakob Pertl, as him and Scotty Barnes both knot up double doubles. And then a key contributor coming off the bench ended up being Colin Murray Boyles, who after 20 minutes of play ended the night with 9 points, 4 boards, 1 assist, 2 of 2 from the field, 1 of 1 from 3, and 4 of 4 from the charity stripe. So big night from Murray Boyles as well, and the rest of the crew for the Raptors as they end up, I wouldn't say squeaking by, but notch up a win against the Brooklyn Nets. And then we're kind of going into the Brooklyn Nets here a little bit just because, I mean, we haven't really covered much of them throughout this season, but they've had, like this game in particular, they've had probably if I remember correctly, they've had a lot of close games like this in terms of like the separation not being like being roughly around 10 points or maybe a little bit more than that. Um, they just haven't been able to find ways to win right now, especially Cam with I think one of their star players in Cam Thompson or Cam Thomas, I think is his name. With him being out, um, I mean they're looking for guys on the rest of the Brooklyn Nets team to try to make some contributions. So you got key contributors from last night. You got two guys that tied for top scorer last night. Um, Michael Porter Jr. after 36 minutes of play had 21 points, 6 boards, 3 assists, 1 block, 5 of 14 from the field, 1 of 6 from 3, 10 of 10 from the charity stripe. So a big night from Michael Porter Jr. And then you also have Nick Claxton, who also had 21 points, but after 35 minutes of play had 8 boards, 4 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks, 8 of 14 from the field, 5 of 5 from the charity stripe. So big night from both Claxton and Porter Jr. But they ultimately ended up falling short. And then also another key night from Noah Clowney as well, who after 35 minutes of play had 18 points, 8 boards, 3 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks, 4 of 9 from the field, 2 of 7 from 3, 8 of 9 from the charity stripe. So a big night from Noah Clowney. And then not really a key guy coming off the bench, but one to really talk about, Jalen Wilson, who after 16 minutes of play had 9 points, 1 board, 3 of 7 from the field, 3 of 5 from 3. So kind of a 1 point shy of double figure night from Jalen Wilson, but ultimately it's the Raptors that get the win here. On the road, let's see. It looks like Toronto. Toronto barely outscored Brooklyn in the second half. I think it was the difference in how many points were scored in the second quarter that basically rode the rest of the way for the Raptors, because that's the 10-point differential that ends up being the difference in this game. Yeah, because 32-22 was the difference in how many points were scored by both teams in the second quarter. So, I mean, even though 59-57 is the difference in the second half scoring for both teams, I mean, when you let one team outscore you by 10 points in one quarter and don't find a way to kind of match that in any of the quarters in the second half, I mean, you're not really giving yourself a recipe for success there. But anyways, 119-109 the final in Brooklyn. Brooklyn continues to open the season cold as they end up falling to 1-10, and the Raptors move up to 6-5 as their season is kind of a as they start the season kind of in, I'm not really going to say limbo mode, because it's not really limbo. It's more or less just they haven't really been able to find, I guess, a spark, if you will, to keep them above 500 and make it look like they play well. So, I mean, not saying that they didn't play well last night, like all their starters were in double figures for the Raptors, but I mean, it's just one of those, they've had good nights like this one, and they've had some bad nights as well. So we'll see what the Raptors do going forward from this, but hopefully this is a defining moment for the Raptors, and hopefully they can continue to pop on a win streak as well. Another game that was not as close as the game that we were mentioning before, but still one to kind of discuss in terms of it was a lot closer of a point differential than the other games that ended up finishing after this game. Ended up being the Grizzlies coming into Madison Square Garden in New York. like I was kind of mentioning yesterday, I don't think John Morant um, is enough was gonna be enough for the Grizzlies to try to beat the Knicks last night, and that kind of was the case here. As we got Jaron, let's see, as we got our top scorer, we got a couple of top scorers, one from the bench and one from the starting crew, which is crazy. But I mean, not all the starters ended up in double figures, but you got at least four guys coming off the bench that ended up in double figures for the Grizzlies. So that at least helped keep them in this game. But um, unfortunately for the Grizzlies, they didn't end up making it close enough to potentially have a game winner or send this into overtime. So you got let's see. Yeah, your top scorers being Jaren Jackson Jr. and Santi Aldama coming off the bench for the Grizzlies. And then, let's see, we'll just start with Jaren Jackson Jr., who, after 30 minutes of play, ended the night with 19 points, 6 boards, 3 assists, 7 of 14 from the field, 2 of 4 from 3, 3 of 4 from the charity stripe. So, big night from Jaren Jackson Jr. And then also coming also with 19 points coming off the bench for the Grizzlies ended up being Salty Aldama, who after 30 minutes of play, the rest of his stat line ended up being 7 boards, 3 assists, 8 of 10 from the field, 1 of 3 from 3, and 2 of 4 from the charity stripe. So huge night from Aldama, as he basically matched one of the starters. So hopefully we'll be seeing Aldama in the starting lineup for the Grizzlies here. But I mean, with how well he played last night compared to the other starters, who knows how well that's going to actually turn out. Um, but also some key contributors. It looks like John Morant ended the night with a double double. But you got Jalen Wells, who ended the night after 29 minutes of play with 18 points, 3 boards, 4 assists, 2 steals, 7 of 11 from the field, 4 of 7 from 3. So big contribution night from Jalen Wells, even though he's only had one stat line in double figures. But pretty much stats across the board from him, and a pretty good accuracy night from him as well. So kudos to him to contribute. And then John Morant, as I was kind of discussing earlier, ended the night with a double-double after 34 minutes of play, had 16 points, 3 boards, 10 assists. Nothing from the defensive stat line, but was 4 of 14 from the field and 2 of 6 from 3, and then 6 of 6 from the charity stripe. So even though he was 100% from the charity stripe, I think the accuracy was really the key factor for the Knicks in this game in terms of, I mean, yes, they held him to 16 points in general, but the accuracy being under 50% for John Morant ended up being a huge, huge difference maker in this game. So even like a few more buckets being made by John Morant, and this is a whole different outcome for the Grizzlies for sure. Let's see if anything else jumps out in the box score for the Grizzlies. Unfortunately, not. But then we um, get into the other side for the New York Knicks, and you got a couple of guys that ended up with double doubles, and Karl Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson. But also Jalen Brunson, after 36 minutes of play, just ended the night with 32 points, 5 boards, 10 assists. Nothing for the defensive stat line, but in terms of his accuracy, he ended up going 11 of 19 from the field, 6 of 9 from 3, and 4 of 4 from the charity stripe. So above 50% accuracy night from Jalen Brunson. Just absolutely monstrous night from him as he knotted up a double-double. Karl Anthony Towns also had a double-double as well. After 32 minutes of play, had 21 points, 13 boards, 4 assists, 3 steals, 2 blocks, 7 of 17 from the field, 3 of 8 from 3, and 4 of 5 from the charity stripe. So not a big accuracy night from Karl Anthony Towns, but still made enough of an impact in terms of getting enough of the shots to fall to where he ends up knotting up a double double um, last night against the Grizzlies. But also, Mikal Bridges had himself a night as well, who, after 38 minutes of play, ended up with 22 points, 7 boards, 5 assists, 4 steals, 8 of 17 from the field, which, oh my goodness, you look at the stat line. I mean, you got OG Anunoby, who also took 17 shots as well, and, I mean, their accuracy wasn't entirely great, but, I mean, it was enough shots, and enough shots ended up falling for him to where basically, all the starters ended up in double figures, but the rest of Mikal Bridges' stat line 8 of 17 from the field, 3 of 9 from 3, and 3 of 4 from the charity stripe. So, very big contributions from Mikal Bridges. As he, even though didn't have an accuracy night like a lot of the starters did, he still ended up finding a way to make enough of those shots to where he ends up with 22 points. So, big night from him. And then, big guy coming off the bench in terms of top scoring ended up being Jordan Clarkson, who after 17 minutes of play had 13 points, 3 boards, 2 assists, 5 of 7 from the field, 3 of 5 from 3, and did not get to the free throw line, but still had a very great accuracy night coming off the bench from Jordan Clarkson. So, huge contributions and a huge night from him. Yeah, what else can I really say? So let's see. We're going to get into... and then just kind of the rest of the breakdown of the scores from each quarter here. Let's see, 40, 56, and 66 for, dang, they had a 66 point second half for the Grizzlies, and yet they still couldn't, because 77 to 54 was the difference going into half. Oh, man. Yeah, trying to overcome a 20-point deficit from the first half into the second half, even though you outscore the other team in the second half. That's one way to try to do it, but it's got to be a lot more than how many points was that separated by? 56 to 66, so 10 points. So they ended up bringing it down to 13 points, but it was way more than that at one point. So yeah, so it ends up being the final score 120 to 133 in Madison Square Garden. The New York Knicks end up moving up to 7-3. Grizzlies fall to 4-8. So, but still a solid night from all the stars across the board from both teams. Just the Grizzlies end up falling short in last night's game. And then the final game that I'm going to kind of discuss from last night that was really the only game that was close from any of the games last night. Ended up being the Boston Celtics going into Philadelphia and facing in my personal opinion, the red hot Sixers from last year. I mean, they might not be entirely red hot, but they're definitely coming out with a vengeance from last season, if you will, as they ended up facing the Boston Celtics for a third time in the early going, and then they won't face the Celtics until March. But your top scorers from last night ended up being, we're getting into the Boston Celtics breakdown here. Top scorer from the Celtics ended up being Jaylen Brown, who after 35 minutes of play ended the night with 24 points, 6 boards, 5 assists. I'm kind of reading into different lines for some reason. And the rest of Jaylen Brown's stat line ended up being 8 of 18 from the field, 1 of 3 from 3, and 7 of 8 from the charity stripe. So Not a huge, not a huge accuracy night from Jaylen Brown, but even still ended up finding a way to notch up 24 points and keep this game close. So big night from Jaylen Brown. Um, One person that was close to a double double ended up being Nemias Quetta. I think that's how you say his name. I really apologize if I'm not saying these names correctly. So, anyhow, it's let's see, who ended the night after 29 minutes of play with 8 points, 10 boards, 2 assists, 2 blocks, 4 of 8 from the field. Oh, and nothing else from the 3-point or the free throw line. So, pretty close. Was one make away from getting a double double, but was not meant to be last night. Derek White also made a key contribution after 35 minutes of play. Had 18 points, 5 boards, 7 assists, 2 blocks, 7 of 20 from the field, 4 of 11 from 3. And nothing for the charity stripe, unfortunately, but still a key contribution night from Derek White nonetheless. And then a key scorer coming off the bench ended up being Anthony Simmons. Been talking about this guy a lot coming off the bench for the Celtics, who after 26 minutes of play had 17 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists, nothing from defensive stat line, but had 5 of 15 from the field and 3 of 8 from behind the arc and 4 of 4 from the charity stripe. So big contribution in other ways from Anthony Simmons or Simons or something like that. I don't know. Chat, if you could correct me if I'm wrong on some of these names that I'm saying, that'd be greatly appreciated. I think I'm saying most of these correct, but yeah, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. So, let's see, 51 to 59. Wow, that's crazy. Anyways, and then we go into top guys that end up jumping out of the box score from the Sixers. You got your top scorer being Tyrese Maxey, who after 34 minutes of play ended the night with 21 points, 5 boards, 9 assists, 1 steal, 5 of 17 from the field, 3 of 6 from 3, and 8 of 8 from the charity stripe. So big night from Tyrese Maxey as he continues to I'm not going to say stay hot necessarily, but is definitely trying to, I think, find a way to make a case for himself to try to be one of the top players to really be discussing throughout this season here, because I think he's wanting to try to find a way to make at least at least be part of the MVP conversation, if not actually potentially be that guy that is the hopefully is that guy that will be potentially getting that MVP later on in the season. I mean, I could be completely wrong, but it looks like he's wanting to make a case for himself. But the the Sixers are now leading this series 2-1 in this season series. They got one more matchup in March. But also a key night coming from the Sixers ended up being Andre Drummond, who had a double-double last night after 33 minutes of play, had 14 points, 13 boards, 1 block, 6 of 11 from the field, 0 of 2 from 3, and 2 of 3 from the charity stripe. So a double-double night from Andre Drummond. Was better shooting inside the arc than he was outside the arc, obviously. Yeah. Then we get to key scores coming off the bench. You got Justin Edwards, probably first time calling out that guy's name in this on this show here. He ended up with after 27 minutes of play, had 22 points, 3 boards, 3 assists, 1 steal, 8 of 9 from the field, 5 of 6 from 3, 1 of 1 from the charity stripe. So big night from Edwards coming off the bench. Also, Quentin Grimes had a night coming off the bench for the Sixers, who after 28 minutes of play had 18 points, 6 boards, 4 assists, 1 block, 6 of 10 from the field, 3 of 6 from behind the arc, and 3 of 3 from the charity stripe. So big night from both Grimes and Edwards coming off the bench for the Sixers, and that I think is what kind of helped notch the win in Philadelphia. Was there a he was automatic from 3, even though he only had 6 points and was 2 of 6 from 3? Like, we're really gonna have that as a headline over here? Anyways, I think that was just a little bit exaggerated. Let's see. So 51 to 41 was the separation going into half. Am I doing that math correctly? Yes. 41. Yeah. 41 to 51 going into half, and then Celtics ended up outscoring the Sixers 59 to 51. But yeah, that's a crazy make by Edgeco. My goodness. But anyhow, 102-100 your final score in Philadelphia as the Sixers move up to 7-4 and the Celtics fall to 5-7. But as you can kind of see from the side over here, for those of you guys on visual, for those of you on audio, I'll kind of break this down. The Sixers and the Celtics have already played each other 3 times this season so far, and I think we've discussed the box scores from these guys from earlier, but all of these games from the Celtics and the Sixers have been close all the way through in this early going. The last 2 games were only separated by 1 point. This game was separated by 2 points. And, I mean, as you can kind of see for those on visual, the Sixers lead this series 2-1 right now. But when you kind of look at this as their last matchup in this series is going to be in March. Like, this is going to be one to watch, as you can kind of see from this series kind of unfolding. Like, I mean, there's potential that this could potentially be a playoff matchup in terms of a playoff series. But who knows if that is actually going to go into fruition. Mainly because, I mean, you got key injuries from the Celtics kind of plaguing them just a little bit, especially with Jason Tatum not being able to play for the Celtics. I mean, if Jason Tatum were still in, would that make that much of a difference? I mean, who knows? But without Jason Tatum in the lineup, I mean, the Celtics, I mean, they're not entirely hurting, so to speak, but they have at least been impacted on most of their losses without having Jason Tatum in their lineup, unfortunately. So with that, we're going to kind of move on into my predictions from later today. We're going to kind of get through some of the key matchups as I start making some of these predictions here. I know I kind of made this at like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning as I was kind of dozing off. I was really, really tired last night, ladies and gentlemen, so I do apologize for that. This is probably not going to be a good day in terms of predictions, but we'll see. It's also going to be a lot harder because there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There's 12 games. So it's going to be really tough for me to uh, get all 12 of them correct and kind of top off how I did last night with with the uh, with the breakdown from last night. So, um, I mean, I was able to find a way to get 100% on 6 games. I mean, what's going to be the harm in trying to get 100% from 6 more? You know what I mean? But anyhow, we're getting into 3 games that are going to tip off at 4 o'clock later today. You got the Milwaukee Bucks going into Charlotte. Um, as of right now, with the knowledge that I have, um, I kind of bet you got Giannis out tonight, so that might be as expected to miss extended time with a herniated disc in his neck. Dang. That's unfortunate for Prince, dude. That's crazy. But Giannis is out tonight with a knee injury, and I think even where is that? I now with that knowledge, I don't know if my pick is gonna be 100% correct even to start the night. Um, so we'll see what happens there, but um, yeah. So you got Milwaukee going into Charlotte. I'm still just sticking with my pick. I'm not gonna change that. I mean, obviously all these picks I'm probably gonna stick with, but um, we're not really gonna. I don't think we're gonna get really too much in depth in terms of this one. I think without Giannis, this game might be a little bit closer than a lot of people might realize in terms of a final score. But um, look to just next man up for the Milwaukee Bucks, and I think. Let's see. Without Giannis, that would mean that I think it's probably gonna be. Oh, I don't remember off the top of my head who you got with Giannis out. Oh yes, you got Kyle Kuzma and Miles Turner. Yeah, which means you got Kyle Kuzma gonna be hitting that starting role. Um, and then Gary Trent Jr., AJ Green. I mean, AJ Green might have himself a night for sure. Same with Amir Coffey and Cole Anthony. Um, but Kyle Kuzma might have himself a night as well. But I don't know 100% for sure. I'm just gonna. I'm predicting that the Bucks are gonna win. I don't know if it's gonna be like huge nights from the stars from the Bucks, just because um, there's gonna be somebody who's gonna have to pick up the slack for Giannis not being in the lineup tonight. But who knows? It may end up being the LaMelo Ball, and the Charlotte Hornets find a way to get all their starters in double figures, and they end up winning this game. So we'll see. But yeah, this one's probably going to be a lot closer than I even anticipated when I was first making these predictions. So we'll see. And then getting into another game that's also tipping off at 4, you got the Pistons hosting the Chicago Bulls. And even though the Bulls kind of had a hot start, they've had a rough patch in these past few games, which is kind of why I've kind of leaned a little bit more towards Cade Cunningham and the crew for the Pistons, because they have continued to stay hot to start the season. And as we kind of look as the records coming into this game, you got the Pistons at 9-2 coming into this game, and the Bulls 6-4. Like I kind of was talking about a little earlier last week. I mean, the Bulls at I think at around this time last week, the Bulls were at like 5-1 or something like that, and so they've just had a rough patch, just in these past games alone, to where, they just haven't been able to find a way to stay hot like the Detroit Pistons have. But coming into this game, look to give me 1 second. Look to I think it's Josh Giddey and a couple other guys. If Josh Giddey does not play, then that's potentially going to be Trey Jones and Dazumu. I think that's how you say his last name. But Dazumu's probably going to be in the starting lineup tonight. Um, as we kind of look, it's either going to be probably Josh Giddey or Trey Jones at the point. That's if Josh Giddey is good to go or not. And then you got Dezumu at the 2, Isaac Okoro at the 3, Buzeles at the 4, and then Nikola Vucevic at the 5. So, um, yeah, I would expect Vucevic, Trey Jones, and Dezumu to have like big nights. You got Kevin Herter and Julian Phillips and Patrick Williams coming off the bench for the Bulls. So, I mean, do I think that they're still going to, have key contributors with these guys? Of course, but I don't know um, how much that's going to impact the difference in this game, especially when you look at the Detroit Pistons coming into tonight, their starters, especially Cade Cunningham on a day to day. Let's take a look at the injury status here because I don't entirely know. Oh boy. Jalen Duren was downgraded to questionable with an ankle injury, and then you got Cade Cunningham, who was not seen at this morning's shoot around, and it looks like a hip injury potentially. Isaiah Stewart is out with an ankle injury, doubtful for tonight's game. Azur Thompson is out for tonight's game with an ankle injury. Tobias Harris is out, trending in the right direction, but not with a timetable for Tobias Harris. So it looks like they're projecting to have Tobias Harris back November 24th, so in about 12 days from now. Was not on the active list for okay, so the rest of these we've already kind of discussed already, but well, with that being the case, can we get that out of the way, please? Thank you. We got. Let's see. If Cade Cunningham doesn't play tonight, that's gonna probably dictate the scoring a little bit, and might be the key in terms of how the Bulls end up winning this game tonight. Um, maybe I should just look at injuries from both sides and see how well that's going to play out for these teams. But without Tobias Harris, without Azur Thompson, you're probably looking at Caris LeVert at the point, Duncan Robinson at the 2, Ronald Holland at the 3, either him or Javonte Green at the 3, and then it would be either Ronald Holland at the 4 or Bobby Clintman at the 4, and then if not Jalen Duren, then it's probably going to be Paul Reed or Isaac Jones at the 5. So yeah, there's a lot of injuries right now coming into tonight, so I wouldn't expect this pick to be a win there. I mean, unless I'm not saying that that I'm going away from my pick. I'm just saying that I think my pick is probably going to be wrong coming into tonight. Just because of the big injuries coming out of Detroit. I mean, there's still stars injured for the Bulls as well, but it kind of remains to be seen. Hopefully, hopefully the guys from the Detroit Pistons step up, and the guys on the bench are stepping up and find a way to win this game. But we'll see. I don't think that's going to happen though. So. And then also tipping off at 4 o'clock later this afternoon. In that first window of games that are tipping off is going to be New York hosting the Magic in Madison Square Garden with the lineup that the Knicks have coming into tonight. It's gonna be tough for the Magic to try to find a win. I know, and I can understand how I think this game is probably going to be close, especially since you got Paolo Banchero and the rest of the crew for the Magic. I mean, even though they haven't been entirely playing well in the early going, I mean they're 5-6 coming into this game, whereas the New York Knicks are 6-3. So, I mean, there's much to be said about the New York Knicks, even with their entire lineup having not entirely been healthy all the way through the first 10 games of the season for the Knicks. They still have been finding ways to win. Again, look to um, look to Jalen Brunson, Mikal Bridges, and Karl Anthony Towns to have big nights again. Um, for the Knicks, especially since it looks like they don't really have much of an injury report except for Kevin McCullough Jr., who's kind of been moved down into their depth chart, so it doesn't really look like that's going to be much of a difference regardless. But in terms of the starting crew coming into tonight for the Knicks, you got Jalen Brunson at the point, Mikal Bridges at the 2, OG Anunoby at the 3, Karl Anthony Towns at the 4, and then Mitchell Robinson at the 5, with potential key contributors coming off the bench coming from Yabusele, Josh Hart, Jordan Clarkson, and Miles McBride. So look to those players especially to have some big nights tonight. And I think, especially since it's going to be on ESPN, tipping off at 4, you got Inside the NBA, kind of breaking this down as well. Which I highly recommend tuning into Inside the NBA because those guys are top notch. They've been doing this for years now. They've just been doing this for a long time and know what the heck they're doing. So, and then you get into the starters for the visiting Orlando Magic coming into Madison Square Garden. You got Jalen Suggs at the 1, Desmond Bain at the shooting guard, Franz Wagner at the 3, Paulo Banchero at the 4, and Wendell Carter Jr. at the 5. So, I mean, you got 2 healthy lineups coming into tonight, and I think this is going to be a good matchup for sure. But I don't have a ton of confidence in the fact that I don't think that with the way they've been playing so far and with the way that the Knicks have been playing so far, even with the injuries, I think that without the injuries now, I think that the Knicks are going to look to try to kind of solidify a win, especially at home in Madison Square Garden, and look to try to continue their winning streak tonight. So look to the Knicks to try to, I mean, not really seal the deal early, but potentially, try to pull away in the second half to make it so that it's not going to end up being a close game coming down to the wire for the Knicks. So hopefully the Knicks continue to play well and continue on their hot streak. But moving into the next window of games that tip off a half an hour later, you got the Boston Celtics in the TD Garden hosting the Memphis Grizzlies. Again with Ja Morant in the crew. I don't foresee the Boston Celtics really losing this game. Especially since you got Jaylen Brown kind of leading the crew coming into this. There's a lot of we got key news coming out of the Clippers here later as well that we're going to talk about. But anyhow, excuse me. But what was I going to say? But with the fact that you got Jaylen Brown and the crew kind of slowly picking up on a hot pace within these past couple of games, hopefully that winning streak continues to... Wait, no. I take that back. Because they didn't win last night. They lost to the Sixers. We were just discussing this. But regardless, I think they still have been... Nope, never mind. I am completely botching this. Like, on across the board. But what was I gonna say? Getting back into this. Um, Anyhow, yeah, I think the Celtics are gonna win this game because I don't think John Morant. They're looking to their homestand with a win in Boston, in the TD Garden in Boston. So hopefully that goes into fruition. I was kind of looking into this game as or this next game that's also going to tip off at 4:30 with the Cavaliers going into Miami and playing against the Heat. I don't know if I'm really confident in the fact that I think that the Heat are going to actually win this game. Um, I mean, this one is really a toss up between both of these teams. I mean, you got, as we kind of look into the depth chart coming into tonight for both the Cavs and the Heat. I mean, you got Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell out, it looks like. Same with Evan Mobley and Jalen Tyson. So you got a bunch of different injuries across the board for the Cavs. So who knows what is going to happen tonight? I mean, with those guys being out, you got Lonzo Ball and Sam Merrill and DeAndre Hunter and Dean Wade, excuse me, not Dwayne Wade, it's Dean Wade, and then Jared Allen at the 5. So that's your potential starting lineup for the Cavs. And then the Miami Heat, you got Bam Adebayo as really the only key guy out for the Heat. So I mean, if anything, I would probably expect Andrew Wiggins and Khalil Ware to still have big nights. I mean, same with Norman Powell and Davion Mitchell, but I mean, you got a 7-4 Miami Heat going up against a 7-4 Cleveland Cavaliers, so you got two big. I guess I guess you could say it's a powerhouse matchup, if you will. Even though there's a lot of injuries across the board for the Cavs, I mean, you could say that this is a key game for both teams because this could also potentially be a postseason series matchup. But tonight it might not look like that though because you got a lot of guys out for the Cleveland Cavaliers. So again, without having that knowledge and without looking at the matchup predictor from the start, I would kind of hedge my bets that Miami's probably going to win this game. So that's probably going to be an L in terms of the prediction for me. But yeah, who knows? I mean, Lonzo Ball might. I mean, some of the guys coming off the um, being a part of the second part of that depth chart for the Cleveland Cavaliers might come in and have themselves a night for the Cleveland Cavaliers and beat Davion Mitchell and Andrew Wiggins and the rest of the crew for the Heat. So who knows? But I know that the Heat are not going to go away quietly. So if anything, if this is going to be a back and forth matchup, this one's going to be close all the way through. So yeah, let me just adjust some of this real quick. Not really much else there. Cool. Okay. But yeah, I mean, my prediction is kind of set from when I sent this out. I think Cleveland is. Well, I originally thought that Cleveland was gonna win, but in terms of looking at the injuries from both sides, it's kind of leaning towards the Miami Heat is gonna win, but it could be a toss up in terms of who's gonna actually show up and show out, if that makes sense. But yeah, moving on into the next window of games that tip off. You got the Rockets hosting the Wizards, which I think the Rockets are going to win that game. You got the Pelicans hosting the Portland Trailblazers, which, with the way that the Pelicans have been playing and the way that the Portland Trailblazers have been playing, it's kind of two different stories from both of these teams. So, If anything, I would say that I think that the Pelicans are going to continue to kind of fall short and stay cold. You got key contributors from the Trailblazers that are going to be really, really hot coming into tonight. Let me just kind of take a look at their depth real quick for the Trailblazers, because I think Avija is still in, I believe. But yeah, you got Donovan Clingham. So the potential starters for the Trailblazers coming into tonight, you got Drew Holiday, you got Shane Sharp, you got Tumani Kamara, Denny Avija, and Donovan Clingham. Just from those guys starting tonight, like, it's gonna be a big. This is kind of huge for the Trailblazers because I mean they've got a. I want to say they're going up against the Zionless Pelicans, I think. Or he's in, he just hasn't been playing well. No, he's still out. So, yeah, so the Pelicans are still without Zion Williamson. Um, but then as you kind of look into, I mean, yeah, I would say you're still probably going to look to Jose Alvarado to be a key contributor coming off the bench for the Pelicans. Um, you got you got Kayvon Looney, who's probably going to play well still as well. But again, with the way that they've been playing without Zion Williamson, I'm kind of looking at this and thinking that I think it's going to continue into tonight in terms of how many people, or in terms of how well the Pelicans are going to play. Because I mean, they're 2-8 coming into tonight compared to the Blazers 5-5. So I mean, when it comes to breaking down who's going to win this game, I mean, if you're just looking at record by, just face value in terms of record, you'd think that the Trailblazers are going to win this game. But you also look at the injuries coming across the board from both teams, and you look and see, okay, yeah, I think the stars of the Trailblazers are going to show out compared to the stars of the Pelicans. Because I mean, really, without Zion Williamson, they've yet to find a way to make a difference in a lot of the games that they've had throughout their first 10 games of the season. So a little bit unfortunate for the Pelicans, but yeah. And then also tipping off in that same set of window is what I think is probably going to be a key matchup between the Spurs and the Golden State Warriors. Even though the Warriors didn't play as well last night as I kind of thought that they were going to, look to them again to hopefully keep this game close. I mean, Wembanyama and the Spurs have just been on fire as of late, as they're just like a game and a half behind the Oklahoma City Thunder right now. Because, I mean, the Warriors still have, as far as I'm aware, they still have all their key guys coming into tonight, I think. But I don't really want to listen to Draymond Green right now. But anyhow, you got potential starters tonight being Stephen Curry at the 1, Jimmy Butler at the 2, Buddy Hield at the 3, Draymond Green at the 4, and either Quentin Post or Al Horford at the 5. But that's also barring whether or not Jonathan Kuminga and Quentin Post are going to be playing tonight. But even still, the Warriors are having a tough matchup with the Spurs because the Spurs are hot coming into this point of the season. Coming into this game 8-2 for the Spurs, and Warriors are 6-6 coming into this game. So it's gonna be an interesting matchup in my personal opinion, because I think Stephen Curry is still gonna show up and show out, and hopefully have a big night tonight, as he kind of usually does. But without Quentin Post, I think it's going to be a little bit tougher, especially since all the starters for the San Antonio Spurs are all healthy. As we kind of look into the starting lineup potentially for The Spurs, you got De'Aaron Fox at the point, Stephon Castle at the 2, Devin Vassell at the 3, Harrison Barnes at the 4, and Victor Wembanyama at the 5. So, I mean, even though he's still young, Wembanyama is, but I mean, it's still going to be a big. I still think it's going to be a big night from Wemby just because he's been balling out to start the season. They really only have one guy that looks like to be on the injured list for the Spurs, so if anything, look to the Spurs to still win this game tonight. Not that I don't think the Warriors can find a way without the potential players that they're having out, but there's just a lot of. I think there's just a lot of speculation coming out of the Golden State Warriors right now just because the way that I kind of read that headline, just kind of looking at the Golden State Warriors homepage here with the Draymond Green interview. Not that I'm wanting to listen to that and just only focusing on the headline, but Draymond Green likes to talk a lot. And not that he doesn't back up a lot of his talk with his play, it's just a little bit tough to really. I mean, to even just with the Warriors and how they've been playing as a whole in the early going. I mean, they're 500 coming into this game, so they're 6-6, but it's really tough to really say from here on out if really any like. I mean, just looking at this at face value, right, with how well the Spurs have been playing and with how decently well the Golden State Warriors are playing, it's not to say that the Warriors aren't like wanting to play well, so to speak. I think they've just been having a little bit more of a rougher time with the tougher matchups that they've been getting from the start of this season. I mean, granted, I wanna see because I mean, in my personal opinion, I think Steph Curry is, trying to make a case for himself in terms of getting himself into a potential GOAT conversation. I don't think he's there yet, but I think you can 100% make a case in terms of where he's at in his career and how many rings that he and Draymond and Clay all have, in terms of the fact that I think all of them as a whole, I mean, all of them as a whole are great players, don't get me wrong, but I think Steph Curry kind of separates himself just because of the way that he changed the game, not only from a 3-point perspective, but just changed the game in terms of how well as a point guard he is. But anyhow, I still think that the Spurs are going to win tonight. It's probably going to be a closer game than a lot of people might realize. But yeah, I would expect that one to kind of come down to the wire, especially since it's not going to be on any national news networks or anything like that. But I'm going to try to keep a close eye out on this one and see who ends up coming out on top, because if I'm wrong, it's because Stephen Curry ends up with a historic night. I think that's probably going to be one of the main contributors in terms of how the Warriors are going to win this game. But who knows? Anyhow, moving into another game that's going to be tipping off a half an hour later after that slate of 3 games tipping off at 5 is the Dallas Mavericks hosting the Phoenix Suns. Now, with the Nico Harrison firing, I don't think it's going to be that big of a difference in terms of how well the Mavericks are going to be playing coming into this game tonight. I think the Suns are going to play a little bit better than the Mavericks. That's kind of why I was like, okay, the Dallas Mavericks haven't been playing super well, but neither have the Phoenix Suns. But yet, when you compare both of them, the Phoenix Suns have been playing a little bit better than the Dallas Mavericks, and I think in a head-to-head matchup as of right now, just because of the stretch that the Dallas Mavericks are in right now, I think they're going to continue their losing streak coming into tonight, especially at home. So, I mean, you would think, especially at home, the Dallas Mavericks might find a way to, end up finding a way to win this game, but I'd be hedging my bets and saying that the Phoenix Suns are going to come in and um, continue the hot streak. I believe it's Grayson Allen and Devin Booker and the rest of the crew for the Phoenix Suns that might end up being the difference makers in this game in Dallas. So we'll see what happens. But um, yeah, that's going to be. And I think also this game is also going to be a lot closer than a lot of people might realize as well. But who knows? This might end up being a blowout, but we'll see. Um, but before we get into the later slate or the late slate of games that are going to be tipping off later tonight, I would like to take this moment to appreciate every single one of you guys for coming in and viewing this show. This is multicasted to Twitch, Kick, Rumble, YouTube, X, and hopefully within the next couple of weeks, we're probably going to add TikTok to this as well, and possibly Instagram, but I don't know 100% sure if I can really do Instagram as of yet. But hopefully within the next couple of days we can add just a couple more, just so that we can add to where we're streaming to. But also the audio version is on Spotify. Once again from yesterday, I think I was kind of mentioning I'm gonna try to find all the other places that people are listening to podcasts to, so I can create the show on those platforms as well. And then as soon as the show is over, because I can't really get it live on Spotify in terms of like the audio and stuff like that, because I do like a recording, and then once the show is over for the visual, I basically have to change the file name real quick, and then drop the audio into Spotify. But anyhow, for those of you that are on all the platforms and like the content that I'm bringing you guys, don't hesitate to head down into the comment section and hit that like button and hit that follow or subscribe button if you're on YouTube. And yeah, just make sure that those notifications are on if you don't want to miss a beat of this show. We're going to continue to stay alive Monday through Friday, 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 4 to 6 Eastern Standard Time. So once again, really appreciate every single one of you guys for supporting the show. You guys are so amazing. And it's just an honor and a privilege to be doing this for you guys. So really appreciate every single one of you guys. And with that, we are going to be moving into the later slate of the games real quick as I kind of check all the other feeds to make sure that we're still live on all the other feeds. We're good there. Oh, and also if you are on, or if you aren't on Rumble already, I know I'm kind of backtracking a little bit and doing another um, I guess promo, if you will. But if you aren't on Rumble already, head on over to Rumble, because that's kind of like the main I guess studio, if you will, that I'm kind of broadcasting from. So if you guys aren't on Rumble already, head on over to Rumble. You can download the Rumble app on any of your smart devices, your phone, tablet, smart TV, any of your other devices. I mean, you can basically take this show on the road or on the go or anything like that. So you got myself, you got Steven Crowder, you got Tim Pool, you got Dr. Disrespect. You got a whole plethora of other streamers that are also on Rumble as well. So if you want to keep up on the news or anything like that, you got a plethora of different um, people, including myself, that are covering stuff on a day to day basis. So uh, yeah, with that, let's get into the later window of the game, shall we? And the second game in the ESPN doubleheader that is going to be tipping off later tonight is the Lakers going into Oklahoma City. Um, this is a key matchup, I think, at this point. Um, for a couple different reasons. Number one, you got Austin Reeves and Luka Doncic for the Thunder, or excuse me, for the Lakers coming into this game, and both of them have been playing hot to start this season. Even though both Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves have had a little bit of injuries in the early going, this is going to be a huge matchup coming into tonight, especially since it looks like um, this is roughly right around 6 games or 6 days before LeBron James's potential debut. So the Lakers are without LeBron still for tonight, but the potential return of LeBron James is kind of in the um, is kind of in the I don't really know the phrase off the top of my head, but it's it's looming in the distance. It's coming up. But I think you're still going to see very, very big nights from Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves as your potential starters coming into tonight. Are Luka Doncic at the point, Austin Reeves at the 2, Marcus Smart at the 3, Rui Hachimura at the 4, DeAndre Ayton at the 5. So you got a solid lineup for the Lakers coming into tonight, and it looks like it's going to be a big, big night for the Lakers, and they need a big night because they're facing a very, very hot Oklahoma City Thunder team who come into this game 11-1. Really, the only key injury from the starting crew looks to be Lou Dort, who's going to be out tonight apparently with a. If I'm going to get this correct, I'm going to look at the injury report real quick. Oklahoma City Thunder, you got Lou Dort out tonight with a shoulder injury. That was as of yesterday. Let me see if I refresh this, if that's going to change all that much. No, it is not. So, Lou Dort is out with a shoulder injury. And then you got Aaron Wiggins out with a thigh injury. And then you got Jalen Williams out with a wrist injury. So, you got at least 3 key guys out for the Thunder, which is potentially what's going to make or break this game. But even without those guys, I think when we look at the starting lineup for the Thunder, you got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander at the point, Hassan Wallace at the 2, potentially Alex Caruso at the 3, then Chet Holmgren at the 4, and Isaiah Hartenstein at the 5. So you got a very decent still of a lineup for the Thunder. Even though you don't have Lou Dort, I think that's still going to be a big night from Shea. You're probably going to have a big night from Chet Holmgren. But I think this is one that's going to be close all the way through. It's probably going to be all the way down to the wire. Especially since it's the first matchup between these two in the Paycom Center in Oklahoma City. What else can I really say about how big of a matchup this is going to be? Because of how hot both of these teams are coming into this game, you have the Los Angeles Lakers at 8-3, you got the Thunder at 11-1. Like, both of these teams are looking to try to solidify a win, and probably, come tomorrow, there's probably going to be some overreactions coming out of this game, depending on who wins, obviously. But I would look to this matchup to also potentially be a potential playoff matchup coming into the later stages of the season for both of these teams in particular. This is going to really, really be a key matchup tonight. So, if anything, this is a much, if you guys can catch it on ESPN, like this one is going to be one you don't want to miss tonight. Um, just because of how key the matchups are, and the star players coming into tonight. I mean, if anything, I think Austin Reeves and Luka Doncic are going to have themselves a night, because I think Austin Reeves especially has been coming into this season as if he's got like something to prove, um, in terms of, um, how do I put this? I think he's got something to prove in the eyes of the fact that I think he's wanting to make more of a name for himself, instead of just being what a lot of people, from my knowledge anyway, have been kind of discrediting him for, in a sense. I mean, we all I think a lot of us kind of knew that this guy was good, but I didn't really expect um, Austin Reeves to kind of come out of the gate with the kind of fire that he has off the top of his head. You know what I mean? Like, he's been playing with a fire under his gut to like try to, I think in my opinion, try to make some accolades, try to get some more accolades for himself come the end of this season. Because I mean, if not some awards for himself, because he's been balling out to start for sure. So look to this matchup to stay close all the way through. I think the Thunder are going to squeak by with a win in this one, but who knows? Um, and then in the later slates of the games coming into later tonight, you got the Hawks going into Sacramento. I think Sacramento's going to win that game, because you got, as far as I remember, you got a lot of the stars for the Kings coming into this game tonight with no injuries, basically. And I think the Atlanta Hawks are still without Trae Young, I believe. If they have Trae Young back, he might be well rested, but I don't know if that's, yeah, he's still going to be out with the knee injury. So Alexander Walker is questionable for tonight, and you got Durisic out with an elbow injury. So I mean, you got key guys out for the Atlanta Hawks, and then for the Kings, I mean, the Kings have their key guys in. So it's a tough sell if the Hawks can find a way to win, but especially in Sacramento, that's going to be really tough to do without the key guys for the Hawks not being in this game tonight. So we'll see what happens, but I think the Kings are going to take the win tonight. So there's that, and then you got some big news coming out of this later window of the games tonight. You have the Denver Nuggets going into the Clippers, and having not known what I got news of as of recent, this was posted like literally roughly 2 hours before I went on the air, but this was also posted not only just by ESPN, but it was I think it was Shams Charania, who was the first to kind of drop this. But it looks like the Clippers guard Bradley Beal has a fracture and will undergo season-ending surgery. So a key loss to the Clippers coming into this game tonight. So it's going to be a little bit unfortunate for the Clippers, and I think that's going to be one of the key differences, if you will, coming into this game tonight. I think the starters for the Nuggets are still going to be healthy, to my knowledge. Let me just take a look. Yeah, I don't even see them on this list at all as having injuries. So, I mean, you got Aaron Gordon, who's probably still gonna continue to make a case for himself in every single game that he plays. You got you got Aaron Gordon, you got Jamal Murray, you got Nikola Jokic. I mean, you got so many guys for the Denver Nuggets that are not only starters but key stars coming into tonight that are healthy. So I'd be hard pressed to understand how the Nuggets would end up losing this game tonight, just because odds seem to be just all heading towards the Denver Nuggets, even though they're on the road in the Clippers arena. I don't really remember the name off the top of my head here. I actually have this open just so I can, in the Intuit Dome in LA, or in Inglewood, California, excuse me. But even still, it's going to be the last game that tips off later tonight, 7:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So going to be a late night game, but I think it's still going to be a huge night from the stars of the Denver Nuggets, as I think they're going to notch up a win in LA. So yeah, that's just some rough news coming out of the Clippers, though, in terms of them losing Bradley Beal. So just a little bit unfortunate, but I think yeah, I think just as a did not practice today due to a hamstring injury. Interesting. Even without Bradley Beal being, whether or not Beal was going to be in the lineup or not, I think it was still going to be, I think I still was going to have the favor go towards the Nuggets, because I think, it's just going to be, tough for the Clippers to win in against a very stacked Denver Nuggets team. And then I think later today or early tomorrow morning, I'm going to drop my kind of score predictions and pick predictions for Week 11 going into Week 11, especially since Thursday's lineup is probably going to consist of a lot of different games. I mean, we just kind of finished up the preview for today, so let's see. In terms of the MVP race or top quarterbacks, let's take a look. Let's take a look at the stats real quick. From 1 week into the next, here is what the difference is. All right, so you got yards leaders in Daniel Jones, Justin Herbert, Drake May, Matthew Stafford, Patrick Mahomes, Dak Prescott, and Sam Darnold. And then we're going to look at QBR and completion percentage from all these quarterbacks. So it's Sam Darnold at top for QBR rating, so okay. And then Drake Mason top 5 there. And okay, so Lamar Jackson kind of dropped a little bit, but all right. And then completion percentage, you got Jared Goff at the top and Drake May, Sam Darnold. So taking a look at this face value, with your top 5 quarterbacks heading into, with your top 5 quarterbacks heading into Week 11, I don't think my top 2 are really changing all that much. Top 5 quarterbacks and MVP, actually, because even though Jared Goff has had a really high completion percentage, just the yards and the QBR really aren't um, really aren't there for Jared Goff, unfortunately. Um, I mean, he is top 10 in terms of passing yards, but um, we'll we'll see what happens there. He's also top 10 at QBR, so I mean, you can make a case for Jared Goff, I think, but with with everything else that you kind of have to put in play here, I can't in good conscience right now really put Patrick Mahomes any higher than he is. I mean, you kind of make a case for Jared Goff to also be in this conversation as well. I mean, where is Daniel Jones in the rest of this? Number 1 in yards, number 9 in QER, and number 6 in terms of completion percentage. Freaking A, dude. This is tough. This is tough because when you put all of it together, I think just by looking at everything as a whole, I think there's a lot more stats. Or there's a lot more stat lines where Drake May is above Sam Darnold. That's why I would still have Drake May above Sam Darnold as of right now. And you kind of look at where I mean, his completion percentage isn't all the way up there, so I think we might have to drop Stafford a little bit. But then who would I put? Who would I put then at number 3? Would Josh Allen make a case? No, he would not, because his QBR rating is down. And it's down a lot. It's down because he's all the way down at 15th in terms of QBR. So, unfortunately, Josh Allen is going to stay on the outside looking in. I think Daniel Jones might actually have moved himself up into the 3rd spot, I think. And then we kind of look at both quarterbacks here. You got, Dak Prescott is also still trying to make a name for himself here. I mean, he's top 10 in completion percentage. He's top 3 in QBR rating, and then he's top 10 in terms of complete or passing yards. So, I mean, I think you can make a case for him to be at number 5, at least Dak Prescott, that is. And I think there's a case to be made for, I think you can make a case for all these quarterbacks, but in terms of the top 3, with the way that all these quarterbacks have been playing so far this season and how their teams in general have been playing so far this season, at least in terms of the top 3, I would go Drake May, then Sam Darnold, then Daniel Jones as of right now. Because we're not just, because ladies and gentlemen, we're not just taking a look at, we're not just taking a look at win and loss record. We're not just taking a look at how many yards they completed or how many touchdowns they've thrown and stuff like that. Even though those are key, we're taking a look at everything as a whole, right? Like completion percentage, QBR rating, yards. I mean, it's everything. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, if we do take a look at also the touchdowns as well, I mean, Stafford is up there, don't get me wrong, which is another reason why I say I think you can make a case for Stafford to, be in the conversation. And is same with Jared Goff as well. I mean, because they haven't thrown as many interceptions as well as some of the other players that are a little bit down on this list. I mean, because here's a reason why you don't just look at one stat line, right? You take a look at Tua Tagovailoa's stat line, yes, he might be at the same amount of touchdowns thrown as Sam Darnold, Patrick Mahomes, and Dak Prescott with 17 touchdowns thrown, but you look at his interception ratio and it's at 13. Like, I mean, again, that's one of the main reasons why you kind of have to look at everything as a whole, right? I mean, I'm not saying you. I'm not saying you can't make a case for Stafford or Jared Goff based off of one stat line, but when you look at everything as a whole, um, you're not gonna. I mean, I don't think you can really say, and I think a lot of people are gonna be looking at me going like, "Well, duh, nobody's talking about Tua Tagovailoa. Like, why would anybody would be talking about Tua at this point? I mean, the Dolphins have just not been playing well." Well, I mean, in a sense, you could also say the same for Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys, even though he himself has been playing well. His team as a whole has not been having as much success as the stat line looks for Dak Prescott. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's completely different. And I mean, obviously, the touchdown to interception ratio matters just a little bit, but I mean, you could also be running the football down a specific team's throat every single drive, and then his touchdown to interception ratio could be, you know, like every single drive is a, you know, uh, every single drive ends in a passing touchdown because they end up, just running the ball down the defense's throat, and his yards could be, not even above 1,000 because they wait until the red zone to actually even throw the football. So, I mean, again, I'm not saying that that's what the Rams are doing because the Matthew Stafford has thrown for 25 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. So, I mean, his touchdown to interception ratio is absolutely insane. So I think, I mean, just kind of taking that, you kind of also can make a case for him to be in the top five as well. But also, just looking at the other guys um, around Dak, or in terms of how we're putting this top five together and what we have in terms of stat line to this point coming into week 11, I think with everything that you got to take into account here, it's really tough to really say. But I think just based off of what we kind of discussed already before in terms of QBR rating, completion yards, and completion percentage, you have to kind of look at all of that and say, okay, the Chiefs are playing a little bit better to this point, but Patrick Mahomes' completion percentage is not as high as some of these other players whose teams are also still doing very well as well. So, in that sense, I don't think Patrick Mahomes, in my personal opinion, is a top five quarterback right now or making a case for himself to be an MVP candidate, if you will. Um, just because of the fact that you can't really. Um, again, you can't really just look at one stat line and say that that's an end all be all for certain players to be in the top five or not in the top five. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, again, I don't know entirely what my fourth and fifth best quarterbacks or who fourth and fifth are potentially in terms of the MVP race, which actually, let me just look at the MVP. Excuse me. I don't want caps lock. NFL MVP race. Where is it? Coming into week 11, it looks like you got Drake May, who's the favorite right now at plus 275, and then you got Matt Stafford, and then I still don't. my personal opinion, I don't understand how Patrick Mahomes is at plus 500 right now. I really don't. Mainly because when you look at um, where the Chiefs are at standing wise, yes, they're eighth in they're eighth in the conference because they are 5-4. Like, how can you tell the entire world that Patrick Mahomes is even close to being an MVP caliber candidate when he's not even? I mean, he's top 10 in QBR, sure. He's top 10 in touchdowns, sure. But I mean, in terms of the way that the team has been playing, like, how can we say that Patrick Mahomes is in the top 3 in terms of potential to, like, he's not having an MVP caliber season. I mean, granted, I like the fact that they are finally recognizing Drake May as a potential MVP, and I mean, if he continues to keep balling out like he has been since the beginning of this season, he deserves MVP honors at the end of the season. I'm saying that right now. Like, he's been balling out for the Patriots. And the Patriots have been winning games because of how well he's been playing. So, and again, I might be just a little bit upset right now, but I mean, and I think it's really just because I think there's just a little bit of biases in terms of how great of a quarterback Patrick Mahomes is, which, don't get me wrong, he's a great quarterback and has been a great quarterback for his entire career. Let's not get that twisted. But in terms of what he's been doing for this season and how well his team has been playing this season, you can't just look at certain stat lines and say, oh yeah, he's playing at an MVP level this season. I think he's playing far from what we've been accustomed to seeing him play in past seasons. Granted, the Chiefs have not been a totally great regular season team. Let's not get that twisted either, because the Chiefs, for even the past couple of seasons, they haven't been starting out the regular season very well, and everybody's been all on this hype of like, oh, the Chiefs are actually garbage coming into this game or into the season, yada yada yada. But when it comes to crunch time, we've seen it time and time again where the Chiefs have just been finding ways to win towards the end of the season. And November and December is really where, Mahomes and the Chiefs have usually been able to pop off. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't think there isn't a chance that Patrick Mahomes can still find a way to win the MVP. I just don't think to this point he's at where I think the Fox Sports has him at right now. I just think he's way higher in the plus margin than I think this article from Fox Sports is projecting him to be at, just because of the way that the Chiefs have been playing to this point. They've had a rough stretch, obviously, but that's just my personal opinion. I'm also glad that they've moved Jonathan Taylor up in the rankings as well, because it seems to me for the past few seasons that regardless of how well running backs have been playing, it doesn't seem like a lot of running backs get a ton of recognition. So I'm glad to see that Jonathan Taylor is moving up in the potential odds to potentially win MVP honors at the end of this season. So we'll see what happens. But again, coming into this weekend, really glad to see that Drake May is the top of the odds bracket for potentially MVP honors for this season. With Brian Dable getting fired, that's exactly who I thought was going to be a top. Okay, so let me break this down for you guys real quick because I was thinking about this yesterday after I got off the. No, not yesterday. When did I break the news about Brian Dable? Was that Monday? I think that was Monday. I was thinking about this Monday after after Brian Dable got fired. There were a couple of things that I was thinking of. Number one, I was thinking, okay, with the way that the Dolphins have also been playing to this point of this season, and with how long that Mike McDaniels has been coaching for the Miami Dolphins to this point, like I know I didn't say it on air, so I know this kind of sounds like you're just saying that just because you're seeing it for the first time in terms of rankings and stuff like that. I mean, you could be right, but also I was like, okay, how much longer is Mike McDaniels going to last in Miami? Is it going to be, are they, if they don't make the playoffs, then he's going to be out of Miami come next season? Or is it going to be even sooner than that? Because with how well that the Miami Dolphins have been playing, which hasn't been very well at all, I think he is very, very much on the hot seat right now. Because they're just barely squeaking by above the Jets right now in terms of the records. Like, I mean, they're 3-7. The Jets are 2-7. Like, they get any lower than the Jets, I mean, I think that Mike McDaniels is gonna find himself out before the season is even over. But anyhow, this one was one that I wasn't entirely expecting. Jonathan Gannon, I guess his previous rank was fourth. That's not entirely who I was thinking of, but I guess I could kind of see it. I don't know how many years that Gannon has been working for the Arizona Cardinals, but just the Cardinals franchise as a whole, I mean, they have had great players, don't get me wrong, but just this season in general hasn't been really good for the Cardinals. They really haven't been putting the pieces together. But again, I wasn't really thinking that you can really blame the head coach. It's just a tough, like, just the NFC West as a whole is just a tough buy-in for really any coach to kind of take over and try to find wins. Because, I mean, you look at the rest of the NFC West. No, that's league. If you just look at the NFC West as a whole, outside of the Arizona Cardinals, you got the 49ers at 6-4, and then the Rams and the Seahawks at 7-2. Like, it's always every single year the NFC West is just a stacked division in terms of you don't really know who's going to come out on top. Like right now you're looking at the Seattle Seahawks and the Rams playing well, and I think as far as I'm aware, both the Rams and the Seahawks are going to be playing this weekend, so it's going to be it's a very key matchup in terms of who's going to separate themselves a little bit in terms of in terms of playoff picture and potential division winners, by the way. But it's just always stacked. It's always a big matchup between any of these teams in the division, just because of how well each team plays in each division, right, in each division rivalry game throughout the season. So I mean, I really can't fault the Arizona head coach for where he's at this point. Can we fault it on potential player play? Potentially. But I mean, when you take a look at the rest of, I mean, I guess it was a small loss to the Titans, but they still ended up losing to the Titans. So I guess you could say that that's one that they probably should have won. Um, but outside of that, I mean, their losses were to key division rivals, including the Seahawks twice and the 49ers. So, I mean, can you really blame them for the loss? And I mean, you also for the Cardinals, you ended up losing to the Colts, who've been playing hot this season, and the Packers, who just have had really strong seasons from both of those teams. But they ended up finding a way against teams that they should have beaten, which is the Saints and the Panthers and the Cowboys. So it's like, even though they've moved him up in the rankings, I really think it's a false. In my personal opinion, I think it's a false premise, just because of the fact that I think they've been winning against teams that they've needed to win against outside of the Titans, but they've also haven't really been making it close against teams that they could probably be making it close against. Um, Especially, I mean, well, actually, I kind of take that back. They've had a close loss against the Packers. They only lost by 4 points there. Same with the Colts. They only lost by 4 points. The first time that they lost to the Seahawks, they only lost by three. And obviously, when they lost to the 49ers, they only lost by 1 point. So, I mean, they've been fairly evenly matched throughout. And I don't think you can, and again, I don't really think that you could solely blame the losses in those games to the coach in that aspect. I mean, because the coach can only do so much in terms of the prep. I just don't think that come game time, the players for that roster have been finding ways to cash in terms of finding the victory, um, regardless of at home or on the road. So, who knows? And then as we kind of look through the rest of this, you got Kevin Stefanski of the Cleveland Browns, Zach Taylor of the Cincinnati Bengals, Raheem Morris of the Atlanta Falcons, Aaron Glenn of the New York Jets, which I don't know. I feel like for the Jets that really should be higher, but anyhow, I just wanted to take a look and see because I was kind of thinking about it after Brian Dable got fired. I was like, who else is going to be on the hot seat? And I was kind of thinking off the top of my head, being like, okay, yeah, I think Mike McDaniels is definitely, um, in a sense, on his way out. So, um, but I could be wrong. Depending on how well the Dolphins play throughout the rest of the season, there could be a difference in that, but who knows? And then we could look at the power rankings coming into week 11, but I think we'll do that tomorrow because we're running short on time. Um, but yeah, with that, I think I've kind of run out of topics that I really want to discuss. Any guys in the chats at all? Any Anybody in chat at all today? No? Nobody in chat? Alright. Let's Mega strong case. Mike Vrabel as coach of the year. I mean, I wouldn't put it past him. Pitchers have been playing a lot better than they had in previous seasons. I'll say that much. They were kind of in limbo mode up until, in terms of how well their team has been playing up until this point. So we'll see. Nintendo unveils trailer for Super Mario Galaxy movie sequel. That's crazy. Huh? I don't understand how that makes sense. Anyhow, but yeah, I think that is going to do it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for tuning in. But before I send you guys off, if you guys wouldn't mind, let me just do something real quick before I do this. Transition back to that, and then here. But yeah, before I send you guys off, if you guys wouldn't mind joining me in a prayer real quick so I could send you guys off into the rest of your day, that would be much appreciated. And let's begin, shall we? In the name of the Father, the Son, Holy Spirit, amen. Lord God, I'd like to thank you once again for another glorious Wednesday, and really appreciate, I really want to appreciate all the viewers that are watching. I really would like to ask that you bless and guide each and every single one of them as they go throughout the rest of today and as they go throughout the rest of this week. Guide their thoughts, guide their actions, guide their interactions with the people that they meet. And I'd like to ask also for peace, especially in the major cities of the U.S., as there have been a lot of reports of a lot of different conflicts throughout different cities in the U.S. in particular, to help those conflicts go away, and hopefully everyone can find common ground on something. And I'd like to ask for the intercession of the Blessed Virgin Mary as we also go throughout the rest of this week and head into the weekend. Continue to bless and guide each and every single one of us as we pray, Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Once again, thank you so much, every single one of you guys, for watching. I know this is, I'm kind of about 8 minutes short of when I want to actually finish it, but once again, if you're on any of the other platforms that I'm on and haven't followed and want to make sure that you guys don't miss a beat of the show, don't hesitate to head down and hit that follow button, or if you're on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. Also hit the like button if you're liking the content that I'm sharing with you guys today. That's going to be all for the rest of today, so I will see you guys all tomorrow when I start the show at 1 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time and 4 o'clock Eastern Time. I will see you guys tomorrow. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'll see you guys later. Bye.